Wow, another megalithic site has been discovered, this time in Spain. Welcome to Cosmic Road, where I discuss UFOs and the paranormal. Today I'm going to be discussing something a little different. I'm fascinated by ancient ruins all over the world that seem to have elements in common. Now you could say this is Atlantis or some other ancient civilization that was global that we don't know about, or at least that had some sort of global impact. So let's get into it. Before I get too far, please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media, and as I'm going through it, please comment below and let me know what you think. Okay, I'm reading from The Guardian. Then we're going to go on. A huge megalithic complex of more than 500 standing stones discovered in Spain. A huge megalithic complex of more than 500 standing stones has been discovered in southern Spain that could be one of the largest in Europe. The stones were discovered on a plot of land in Huelva, I'm going to butcher that name, a province flanking the southernmost part of Spain's border with Portugal. Spanning about 600 hectares, 1,500 acres, the land had been earmarked for an avocado plantation. Before granting the permit to regional authorities, requested a survey in the light of the site's possible archaeological significance. The survey revealed the presence of the stones. This is the biggest and most diverse collection of standing stones grouped together in the Iberian Peninsula. Let's see, a researcher, blah, blah, blah. At the site, they found a large number of various types of megaliths, including standing stones, dolmens, mounds, coffin-like boxes called cists, and enclosures. Standing stones were the most common finding, with 526 of them still standing or lying on the ground. The height of the stones was between 1 and 3 meters. At the Carnac megalithic site in northwest France, there are about 3,000 standing stones. Look at that cool image. That is amazing. What was that all about? Why would they have built 3,000 or erected 3,000 stones? These giant stones. It's crazy. One of the most striking things was finding such diverse megalithic elements grouped together in one location and discovering how well preserved they were. Finding alignments and dolmens on one site is not very common. That's really interesting. Here you find everything all together, alignments, cromlechs, and dolmens, and that is very striking. An alignment is a linear arrangement of upright standing stones along a common axis, while a cromlech is a stone circle, and a dolmen is a type of megalithic tomb, usually made of 2 or more standing stones with a large flat capstone on top. Most of the menhirs were grouped into 26 alignments and 2 cromlechs, both located on hilltops with a clear view to the east for viewing the sunrise during the summer and winter solstices in the spring and autumn equinoxes. Many of the stones were buried deep in the earth. They will need to be carefully excavated. The work is scheduled to run until 2026, but between this year's campaign and the start of next year's, there will be a part of the site that can be visited. Okay, so megaliths in Spain, France. I find that really fascinating because there seems to be some ancient culture that built or inspired certain types of architecture worldwide, and that don't correspond to any culture that we really know. We don't know who really built most of these. There are ideas, and some archaeologists and historians like to say they know, but sometimes that conflicts with the actual evidence on hand. And it's hard to date a lot of these things because it's stone, and you can't really date stone very easily. But, here's a list of dolmens, for example. That's one of the structures that was found on that site. So in Asia, in the Caucasus, I guess that's is that in Georgia, where the Caucasus Mountains are, region in Russia, northwest region in Russia, where more and more dolmens are discovered in the mountains each year. These dolmens are related to the Maykop culture. Okay, that could be. I don't know anything about the Maykop culture. The great city of dolmens was built along the shores of the Black Sea from Makop down to Sachi. The inhabitants were metal workers. Okay. There's dolmens in China. There's dolmens in India. Again, I don't believe all these were built by Atlantis, but I do believe there was an ancient civilization that had wide influence globally. And there's a whole host of evidence about that. And there are actual historians in channels like Bright Insight, which I highly encourage you to go to, that does deep dives into the specifics of these structures and their commonalities, because they have certain features like the nubs that stick out and various other features that are common throughout these megalithic structures. Seeming to indicate one author or one culture that taught these other people how to build this stuff. So they're all over. They got China. They're all over India. Look at all those various places they are in India. The dolmens. We're talking about the dolmens. There's a great dolmen and more dolmens. And see how they're in all different places, but they look very similar. I don't know where Guanga Island is, but it's probably not near Jordan, which is where that is. There's one in an ancient necropolis in Gualmo region of northwest Algeria, which is again not Guanga Island. So yeah, it's in Korea. Apparently, there's a bunch of them in North Korea. So there's a bunch of them in Korea. There's a bunch of them in India. They're in the Middle East. They're in Africa, the Horn of Africa, North Africa. They're all over Europe. And that's one of the, that's a really cool one. Look at that one. So they're all over the old world, in Africa. There's not a whole lot of dolmen type stuff in the Americas, okay, so let's go to what there is in America. In North America, we have these stone chambers of New England. Now, there's other stuff too. Here's various megalithic sites in North America. That's my favorite, probably, is North America's Stonehenge, which has some writing on it, which is our only indicator of the builder of the site, and that seems to be in Phoenician. And the Phoenicians are often associated with Atlantis, which makes sense, a great global seafaring power. So easy to see how Atlantis may have had some impact upon them. And the various other megalithic sites in North America, some of these are probably built by the Native Americans. They did not use megalithic construction, though, typically. I wouldn't classify all those as megalithic. That's just a carving. That's kind of interesting, though. Some people say that looks like a swastika, which has ties to Atlantis. It's a whole icky subject to get into. Let's see. Let's go to the stone chambers of New England, which I love. I think those are super cool. The stone chambers of New England. It has long been known that old stone walls have been everywhere throughout New England states. In fact, in the 1930s, someone estimated that New England had 250,000 miles of stone walls. However, that number has since doubled. And the decades that followed, people began to wonder about the region's hundreds of stone chambers. These distinctive stone structures, also called huts, caves, beehives, dolmens, so yeah, there you go, there's the dolmens, and root cellars have long provoked questions about their age and cultural origins. There is approximately 800 stone-built chambers scattered across the New England states that are of a design and form that have been found nowhere else in North America. Generally, they are in a circular and rectangular form that range from 15 to 30 feet long, are about 10 feet wide, and have 10 feet tall central chamber. The most elaborate structures, called Beehive Chambers, were built in a conical shape and sometimes feature smoke holes for ventilation, as well as the shelves and benches incorporated into the walls. Most of the best preserved chambers are driven into hillsides, though others are freestanding. Characteristically, they are expertly constructed with fitted masonry stone and capped with megalithic slabs. So you got the megalithic construction, you got dolmens, and you got a bunch of other stuff that seem to have commonalities with the stuff going on in the old world, like alignments and stuff like that. And we don't know who built them, but the stone chambers of New England, there's over 800 of them. That's kind of what some of them look like, and it has this megalithic slab on the top. Again, the Native Americans did not use megalithic construction. So, who built them? We don't know who built them. We know the North American Stonehenge had some Phoenician writing on it, which is our only real clue. And but who knows? But yeah, you can see how big some of these things are. And that's why we call it megalithic, because they're using these huge stone slabs, which the Native Americans did not use. So who built these things? So yeah, so there's the megalithic construction in North America. So it seems like some culture taught somebody how to do some stuff that nobody else was doing. Yeah, there's the North American Stonehenge, which is a fascinating sight. Although locals sometimes call this America's Stonehenge, Mystery Hill bears little resemblance to the English megalith. Instead, it's a complex of stone structures and artificial caves, most likely only as old as the 17th century, according to this. But there are other people that have dated it to 200 or even 2000 BC. So, however, exact dating may never be possible, as the ruins suffered from tampering. Yes, they did. Okay, these are other things, other megaliths in North America. And here's the Mystery Hill megaliths, America's Stonehenge. Whet's one curiosity. This is my favorite weird site in North America, or one of them. A variety of characteristics have fueled a theory that America's Stonehenge was built by Europeans as long ago as 2000 BC, thousands of years before the first evidence of Viking settlement in North America. And this probably would have been long before the stone chambers of New England were built, although it's hard to say for sure. So anyway, I'm rambling a little bit, but the point is there were weird megaliths of similar fashions, weird ancient ruins all over the world. And of course, a whole bunch of them in South America. Here's in Central and South America. Look at these, just all over the place. Giant, huge structures, pyramids. Look at those fitted stones. And we were talking about the fitted stones in Spain, as well as the stone chambers of New England. That is characteristic of whatever culture built these, or taught these other people how to build them, as these fitted stones. I mean, look how they're all fitted together. Well, that's a weird type of construction. Why would you build it that way? That makes little sense, unless it was done as some sort of stylistic thing. Whatever the case, that is typical all over the world wherever you find these ancient ruins. Like in the Easter Island statues, they have found carvings on the backs of some of these things that correspond to ancient Egyptian art, as well as other things that seem to be expressing similar mythology. So there was a connection, a cultural connection between disparate parts of the world in the ancient days. And of course, the pyramids, which were used very differently in Mexico and South America, but which have a lot of commonalities with pyramids found all over the world. And, we still don't know what the pyramids were. As some people, think that ancient Egyptian pyramids were tombs. And maybe later they were, maybe in some places they were, but the Great Pyramids don't seem to have been tombs. Why do I say that? Well, because ancient Egyptian tombs look like this. They're very artful. They are the tombs of the pharaohs. They are beautiful. They have artwork all over them. Look at that. Look at that. That's what ancient Egyptian tombs look like, the tombs of the pharaohs. So if the pyramids were going to be, the tombs of pharaohs, they would look like that on the inside. They don't look like that on the inside. They're very bare. They're very utilitarian. They were built for some other purpose, whether that's, gathering energy or raising the vibration of the area in a spiritual sense, or for some other purpose. Who's to say? There's a lot of theories. We can go into some of those theories later. But yeah, so the pyramids, the Great Pyramids, were not tombs. That is what a tomb looks like. So anyway, the point is there's a bunch of weird ruins all over the world that have a lot of common features. Now, is that Atlantis? Whatever you want to call it, whatever you're comfortable with. But there seems to be some global interaction between countries and cultures in the ancient world, and some common culture filtered out among them, some origin source for a lot of these architectural motifs and structures. I used to think that Atlantis was a very silly myth. It was fun to think about, but it was silly. I mean, come on. But the more I've looked into this stuff, when I started getting into UFOs and the paranormal and really investigating it, I've seen so much overwhelming evidence for Atlantis. There's in the mythologies of so many different ancient cultures. There have been actual historians and archaeologists that have YouTube channels that go into deep dives on this stuff. And I encourage you to go seek those out. Bright Insight is the one that's coming to my mind, but there's various others. And go check those out if you're interested in the subject. I think it's fascinating. I think Atlantis is fascinating. And there's other connected cultures possibly, like Lemuria. And so what, are we going through cycles of civilization? And, there are some that say we are on the fifth cycle, nearing the end potentially of the fifth cycle of civilization. And Atlantis was the fall of Atlantis was the end of the last cycle of civilization. And then there was a period of very, it was a post-apocalyptic, kind of situation where people had to go back to living in caves and recreate civilization for whatever reason. The aliens that helped Atlantis thought they were doing it wrong, whatever. So, or the beings. So, and there were other periods of civilization before Atlantis. Atlantis, again, it is said by many, was the fourth cycle of civilization. But there were other civilizations that were just as ancient to Atlantis and as remote and mythological to Atlantis as Atlantis is to us. So, the mind reels at these possibilities. It just seems crazy and incredible. But when you really dig into it, there seems to be some there. And I think it's fascinating. I hope you do. Let me know in the comments below This has been Cosmic Road. Please hit subscribe and the bell next to it. Please, comment below. Like I said, please share on social media. I am trying to build this channel. I would really appreciate you helping me get the word out. There's a PayPal links below if you want to help support the channel. There's a Facebook and Twitter links below. I would love it if you followed me on social media. That'd be awesome. That'd be really helpful. Until next time, Cosmic Road out.